What would happen if a global superstar whose schedule is worth millions of dollars per hour, who is awaited by hundreds of crew members, Hollywood-level directors, and the biggest record label in the world, suddenly said no? No, I will not shoot today. Not because he is sick. Not because he is tired. But because his dog has a fever. It sounds crazy, it sounds unprofessional, but that is exactly what Peter Gene Hernandez, the man we know as Bruno Mars, really did. The world only knows him as the owner of a golden voice, a mesmerizing dancer, and a hit maker who never fails. But tonight, I am going to show you a Bruno Mars you have never seen on any stage. A father. A father who is willing to lose everything for one furry creature with the most loyal gaze in the world, a giant Rottweiler named Geronimo. And once you hear this story, you will never listen to the song just the way you are in the same way again. Welcome back to this channel, where we uncover the most honest and most secret side of our idol. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now, because the story we are going to discuss today is exclusive and deeply emotional. In this video, I will take you inside the very private world of Bruno Mars, into his home in Los Angeles, into the recording studio where his musical magic is born, and there you will find not expensive equipment, but a large dog bed that is always beside his beloved piano. You will learn why Geronimo is not just a guard dog, why he has his own tour passport and a secret Instagram account known only to Bruno's inner circle, and most importantly, you will witness the most tense seconds in Bruno's career, when he had to choose between his career and love. I promise, after watching both parts of this video, you will understand why women all over the world, especially mothers and adult women whose hearts are full of love, fall in love not only with his music, but with his soul. Stay with me.
Just a chance to...
We have to go back a few years, to a time when Bruno Mars was on top of the world, but inside his heart there was an emptiness that could not be filled by Grammys, could not be filled by the cheers of thousands of fans in a stadium. In every interview, Bruno always laughed, always full of energy, but those closest to him knew he was a very lonely figure. He grew up in a large family of musicians. He was surrounded by his band the Hooligans, who were like brothers, but when the stage lights went out and the curtains closed, all that remained was silence in a house that was too big. And it was within that silence that fate brought him together with Geronimo. This is not an ordinary adoption story that you see on a celebrity's Instagram. Bruno did not go to an expensive breeder to find a cool-looking dog. The story began with a secret visit to an animal shelter outside Los Angeles, without cameras, without publicity. A friend from his security team told him that there was a Rottweiler puppy that had been abandoned, who was very scared and did not want to be approached by anyone. The puppy had just lost its mother and spent its days curled up in the corner of the kennel, refusing to eat. When Bruno entered that room, something magical happened. The shelter keepers testified the puppy, who for weeks had not responded to anyone, slowly raised its head, stared at Bruno, and then with legs still trembling, walked towards him. And at that moment, Bruno crouched down, letting the puppy smell his hand, and the puppy then laid its head on Bruno's shoe and fell asleep. Fans who hear this story always cry because they know that was the moment where Geronimo chose his father, not the other way around. The name Geronimo itself is not just any name. Bruno gave him that name because he saw the spirit of a warrior in that fragile puppy, a spirit to survive, to not give up even though the world felt so frightening. Since that day, Bruno Mars' life changed completely. If all this time you thought that the life of a superstar is about parties, alcohol, and endless luxury, then Geronimo's story will shatter all of that. Geronimo does not live in a fancy kennel in the backyard. Geronimo lives inside Bruno's soul. Since the first day he was brought home, he has never slept alone. Inside Bruno's legendary recording studio, where songs like 24K Magic and Locked Out of Heaven were created, there is a sight that makes every producer who comes in emotional. Beside the shiny black Steinway piano, which costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, lies a large, soft dog bed, with a blanket that is exactly the same as the blanket Bruno uses on his studio sofa. A sound engineer who once worked with Bruno revealed a sweet secret, that Bruno would never start recording vocals if Geronimo had not slept comfortably on that bed. He would stroke Geronimo's head, whisper soft words, and only when he heard the soft snoring from his four-legged best friend would he put on his headphones and start singing. Geronimo has listened to all of Bruno's songs even before the world heard them. He is the first producer, the first jury, and the most honest first fan. If Geronimo barked in the middle of a recording, Bruno would laugh and start over. If Geronimo yawned and fell into a deep sleep, Bruno knew that the melody was soothing enough, touching enough. Many do not know that in some of Bruno's songs, if you listen very carefully with headphones, you can hear a soft breathing and snoring sound in the background. That is Geronimo sleeping in the studio while his father creates a masterpiece. And this is what makes this story so extraordinary and distinguishes it from other celebrity and pet stories. Geronimo is not a dog left at home when his owner tours around the world. Geronimo is an official tour member. He has what the crew calls the Geronimo Pass, a special lanyard with his adorable photo, which allows him to enter anywhere, even into the most sterile area behind the stage. When Bruno went on his exhausting 24K Magic World Tour, which took him to dozens of countries, Geronimo was there. Of course, not on stage under the spotlight, but he was inside the tour bus that had been specially modified for him, with the best air conditioning system and his own bed. Bruno's backup dancers tell that their ritual before going on stage was not vocal warm-up or stretching, but lining up to pet Geronimo for good luck. They believed, if Geronimo licked their hand, then that night's show would be perfect. And Bruno, the man who on stage looked so macho and confident, would turn into the most anxious father in the world if he did not see Geronimo for more than an hour. He would call his security team through his small radio, not to ask about stage security, but to ask, has Geronimo eaten? Has his water been changed? Is he okay? Love like this is love that is not made up. Love that cannot be bought by fame. But behind all this warmth and beauty, there was a storm coming, the greatest test that would prove how deep a father's love for his child is. And this is the part of the story that made the entire Hollywood music industry fall silent and hold so much respect for Bruno Mars. The incident happened about 2 years ago, when Bruno was scheduled to shoot a music video for one of his biggest singles, a very secret collaboration project with a fantastic budget, involving hundreds of dancers, an exotic location that had already been rented, and a production team from 3 countries. Everything was ready, the cameras were rolling. Bruno was already on location in full costume. And then his phone rang. On the other end of the phone was his personal veterinarian, with a panicked voice. Geronimo, who was 3 years old at the time, suddenly collapsed at home, vomiting and unable to stand. His body temperature was very high, and he was crying in pain. In a matter of seconds, Bruno's face, which was previously full of superstar mode, turned pale. Without thinking twice, without caring about the hundreds of people staring at him, without caring about the millions of dollars in fines he might have to pay for the sudden cancellation, Bruno took off his microphone, took off his jacket, and said in a trembling but very firm voice to the director, "I have to go, my son is sick." He then ran to his car and drove at high speed, leaving the shooting location, leaving everyone in stunned silence. That day, no music video was made. The project was postponed for a full week, causing no small loss. But Bruno did not care. He spent 3 days and 3 nights on the floor of the animal clinic, sleeping beside Geronimo, who was lying weakly within 4 drip, holding his large paw, and singing his own songs in a soft voice just to calm him. He refused to go home until the doctor made sure Geronimo was truly safe. When a senior journalist tried to confirm this incident, one of the crew members, who was on location, only said, "That day we did not see a pop star, we saw a father who was terrified of losing his child." And since that day, No one on Bruno's team has ever dared to question his priorities again. They know Geronimo is family, and family comes first. The story about Geronimo having his own Instagram account is also proof of how seriously Bruno takes his role as a father. That account is not a public account created to seek popularity. It is a Geronimo Mars private, an account that is locked and only followed by about 100 people, consisting of family, the Hooligans, and some of Bruno's closest friends. On that account, Bruno does not post glamorous photos of himself. He posts photos of Geronimo sleeping with his mouth open, videos of Geronimo trying to chase his own tail and tripping and falling, photos of Geronimo being jealous when Bruno is playing guitar, and trying to put his head on Bruno's lap to be petted. Every caption Bruno wrote on that account always uses pronouns like we and affectionate words like my son, my big boy, daddy loves you. For women who followed leaks from that account through Bruno's friends, they admitted their hearts melted. They saw a side of Bruno that they would never see on television, a gentle, patient side, full of unconditional love. A 60-year-old female fan from Japan once wrote a very touching comment on a fan forum. She said, "I have loved Bruno's music for 15 years, but after knowing how he loves Geronimo, I just truly fell in love with the human. I know, a man who can love an animal so sincerely is a man who has the purest heart in the world." And that is why this story is so important for us to tell, especially for you adult women who understand that true love is not about sweet words on stage, but about silent sacrifices behind the scenes. Thank you for watching the story of Bruno Mars, the animal lover, the father of Geronimo. This story is a reminder for all of us that in a world full of falsity, the purest love often comes from a creature that cannot speak, but can feel everything. Now I want to hear from your deepest heart. After hearing about Bruno's sacrifice of canceling a multi-million-dollar music video for Geronimo, what do you feel? Do you also have a Geronimo in your life, an animal that you consider your own child? Write your story, write your feelings in the comments column below, because I will read every one of your comments, and the most touching story will be featured at the beginning of the next video later. Don't forget to like this video. As a form of your love for Geronimo, share this video with fellow animal lovers and hooligans around the world, and most importantly, press the notification bell so you will be the first to know when this much more emotional next video.